Well, I would like to welcome everybody to this session of PowerPoint Tips and Tricks. I didn't say that quite right, but anyway, tips and tricks. My name is Susan Groshong. I'm your host for this session, and I want to thank you for taking the time to invest in your own development and participate in this year's Staff Recognition Week training seminars. We think we have a good variety of things this year. We do have 30 sessions in these 3 days of learning, and hope that you can also participate in some of the other activities that Staff Advisory Council planned this week. So I'm going to go on and introduce and thank our presenter, Mel Wolverson. Mel currently works with Extension, and I'm going to let her tell you about her background. But thank you, Mel, for bringing us this important and interesting topic. You know, anytime I think you talk about these Microsoft software programs, there's something you can learn, because it's always one other little thing that I just like, oh, wait, that'll make things easier. So I always think these are good ones to at least glean something out of. So I'm going to go on and turn off my mic and let Mel take it away. Thanks, Mel.
All right. Well, greetings, everyone. I will have my camera off for most of the time, but I like to turn it on at the beginning and say hi. So greetings, everyone. Today we're going to look at PowerPoint. Now I'm going to cover a few tips and tricks, and then I am going to leave plenty of time for you guys to throw out your troubleshooting things, and I will see if I can help you out. I know a lot of times we maybe don't get the support or the help that we need as we're actually working on projects. So I always like to leave a little bit of time at the end to help with specific issues. 9 times out of 10, there's a lot of other people who have the same issue. So I'll do that at the end there. It looks like we have quite a few people here. We've got a lot of intermediate, a few beginners, 1 or 2 advanced. Hopefully I'll throw some things out for you guys too. And just a little. All right, so we got a wide variety of people. Well, I do have a few basic things and a few more advanced things, and hopefully you guys will get something out of a little bit of each, okay? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and shut my video off and we'll get going. All right, so let's get started. Now, looking at my screen right now, it's not in presentation mode, but it actually has most of the things removed from the screen. So that's my first tip. If you are doing a quick presentation for your coworkers and you don't necessarily need the features of presentation mode, you can do these quick tips to just set it up like this in this mode, and then it's a little bit faster to get in and out of it. So here's what I did. First of all, I double clicked on the name of the tab. So in this case, the home tab, right? If you double click on the name of the tab, that expands or contracts that part of the ribbon. So you can see that in action. Gives you a little bit of space. It also gives you a little bit of space extra if you're working on a laptop, maybe on the go, maybe doing a presentation somewhere you've never done it before. You want a little bit more space on the screen, gives you a little bit more space. The other thing is the thumbnails. I have that collapsed. I can click on that little arrow and expand it out. Now, to collapse it like I did, I placed my cursor on the line in between the thumbnails and the main presentation, and I just clicked, held, and dragged that line over until they're tiny, 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 and then keep going until it just says thumbnails. And that goes ahead and minimizes it so that it's out of the way and it doesn't take any space. Now you might think, well, if it's collapsed, how do I move from slide to slide? Well, your arrow keys, just like they do in presentation mode, still take you from slide to slide. So as long as you don't have anything selected on the slide, your arrow keys will still work just like you're in presentation mode. Then when you're done, you can go ahead and expand that out and have the bigger thumbnails. So that's my first tip. Ways to make the most use of your screen when it's maybe a smaller presentation or you just need more space. Now, before I move on, a little bit about me. I go by Mel Wolverson. My first name is Melinda, and I do work for Extension in the web and marketing area. And if you guys have questions afterwards, my email is wolversonm@missouri.edu. I used to be an IT trainer for over 10 years with IT, the division of IT, and I have taught just about every version of PowerPoint down to before they even had the ribbon. So if you guys are interested, need help, please feel free to contact me. All right, next tip. This tip is at the beginning because I always recommend that people do it at the beginning. When you first open up a presentation and you start working on it, do this first. Go to the File tab, and then on the menu on the left-hand side, you'll see Options. Click on that. It may take a moment to open with everything I've got running. Hopefully it's not going to crash PowerPoint. That would be priceless. Okay, so under PowerPoint options, these are all the options for your program. And I should mention that all of these exist for all of the Office programs. So Word, Excel, it has the same options menu. And these are essentially your preferences for this program, but you can go to any one of them and change the preferences for those programs as well. So it's kind of good to just know about this menu to start with. But I always recommend that people go to the Advanced section and then check out the image size and quality. I always check, do not compress images in the file. Make sure that's checked. And I also set the default target output to 330. If you're in a version before 2010, which I don't think anybody on campus is, but just in case, your highest is going to be 220. But if you have 330, go ahead and choose that. Now, what does that do? Well, by default, when you bring an image into PowerPoint, it automatically compresses that image down to a web quality image. Well, that's fine if you're doing a presentation. And in fact, if all you're doing is a presentation, then you probably want it to compress the images because that makes your overall PowerPoint file size a little bit smaller. But all too often with our projects, we have to maybe create a PDF report out of it, or we need to save it as a PDF and put it on the website, or we need to, for whatever reason, have some sort of higher quality that will print decently. Well, you have to tell PowerPoint not to compress the images. If you don't, it will. And the images, no matter how you output it, whether it's PDF or JPEG or PNG, no matter how you output it, the quality of the images has already been compressed. And so it's already downgraded essentially. So go ahead and make sure that it's not compressing the images in the file. And it's also got the target output to 330. Now, I'll talk more about the output, getting the biggest possible print or the biggest possible output in a little bit, but let's start here first with making sure that our images, when they come in, aren't already downgraded in quality. So I'll say okay to close that out. Now, I will probably come back to that box because there's a lot of other things in that box that are actually quite interesting. A lot of options are in there, and you might just want to know about them. But for now, that's what I always do at the very beginning. Now, you might wonder, can I resize my presentation? Well, yeah. You can actually resize it in a lot of different ways. You can resize the slides so that they are 9:16, sort of a widescreen quality. If you're presenting on a smaller screen, you can change it to 4:3, which is more of an old TV look, but some of our projectors around campus still have that. And you can also change it for print sizes. but it's really only changing the proportions on the slide. It still matters how you export that content in the end. So let's talk about both parts of that puzzle. So first of all, just like the slide says, we're going to go to the Design tab up at the top. And then on the far right-hand side, we've got Slide Size. Well, we've got Standard 4:3 and Widescreen 16:9. That's essentially widescreen projection versus standard projection. But we want something different. So we'll choose Custom Slide Size. Well, here we have a variety of options underneath Slide Sized 4. We have letter paper, ledger paper, A3, A4, a lot of different options that people don't even know we have. You can even put in a custom size and then type in your own numbers. So if you had a poster that was, I don't know, 16 inches by 9 inches, I don't know. You could actually change that. You could actually put in the width, whether it's inches or whatever. You can just type that in and it'll automatically adjust the size of your slides. Now, again, if you put in 52 inches by 32 inches and then you save out as a JPEG, it may not be the quality you expect. So just be aware of that. You may have to work with it a little bit to get it the right size, just because when it saves as a JPEG or a PNG, it automatically saves at web quality, 96 pixels per inch. And so this is a little bit subjective, but at least it gets you the right proportions. So it's, the right height versus length to fit on the piece of paper that you're trying to get. And if you save it as a PDF, then it should actually print at that size. So I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel because I don't actually want to change this presentation. But this is where you would change the size of the slide and even customize it to be a particular size, like letter paper. I want maybe I'm just creating a quick flyer, right? That's going to go in the break room to tell people about cupcakes on Tuesday, which would be awesome. But in that case, really, I'm just making sure it's the right proportions. I'm making sure that when I print it, it's the right proportions to fit on the page. So I'll go ahead and click cancel on that. Okay, so that's setting your slide size. Okay, so how do I print it or share it at a particular size? Well, this gets a little bit more tricky. If you do a PNG, a JPEG or a PNG, and your slide size is 16 by 9, which is what this slide is, the widescreen variety, then it will come out on the other side as 960 pixels by 540 pixels at web resolution. 96 ppi, all you have to remember is that's web resolution, okay? And on a presentation on a computer, that's okay too. And if I were to print it, that's only 3.2 inches by 1.8 inches, which is uselessly small, unless you're doing the print with a thumbnail. So why would I do that? Why would I save as a JPEG or a PNG? Well, there's a variety of different ways. You might be using it as a small image in another presentation. You might be using it as a thumbnail that people are going to click on the website to get to the presentation. You might be using it on YouTube as a cover image. A lot of times people will do their presentation in Zoom, right? Just like I'm doing, and they will have a PowerPoint presentation that they are sharing, and they are going to record that, and maybe it'll go in Panopto, our new video service, or maybe it'll go in YouTube. Either one, you could save out perhaps your first slide, your cover slide, as an image, and then that could be used as a cover art, as a cover slide on YouTube or Panopto, which would be nice because otherwise it just chooses a random frame of the video. So you might use it for that. Now, if you do use it for that, do PNG. A PNG is going to be exactly the same size as far as pixels and pixels per inch. It's going to be this many pixels by this many pixels, just like the JPEG. However, a JPEG natively compresses an image, and compresses is it's exactly as it sounds. It's squishing the photo a little bit. In most cases, you won't be able to tell the difference, but a PNG will give overall more quality. So that's why the file size of the exact same sized image, the JPEG is only 85K kilobytes, and a PNG of the same size has so much more quality that it's 482. Okay, so if you're going to save as an image type, and they say either JPEG or PNG will work, go ahead and go with PNG because it'll give you the better quality. Okay. Now, if you want it to actually be the slide size that you chose, so maybe you went to slide size like I just showed you earlier, you did a custom size and you did letter paper. If you actually want it to be letter paper size and you actually want it to print full print quality, you need to choose PDF. Okay? Because a PDF of the exact same slide, so JPEG and PNG was this size, PDF of the exact same slide is going to be that big, which as you can see, that's a lot bigger, right? A much, much bigger. And also we get 300 PPI, and I won't go into too much detail here, but just know that 300 PPI is print quality versus the 96 PPI was web quality. 300 PPI is print quality, and it will print, in this case, because it's the 9:16 widescreen design, it's going to print at 10 inches by 5.5 inches, right? Which is quite a bit different than the 3.2 by 1.8. So remember, if you want to print it, you can use your PowerPoint original file. You can print directly from PowerPoint, and that's fine. That should have full quality. That should print with full quality. Or if you think other people might print it later, you need to share it and they might need to print it, then make sure you save it as a PDF. Okay. And that should keep the correct size. This is a bonus tip to go with this. If you guys have a graphic designer in your department, or you have a little bit of graphic design experience, this might get you very excited because this is fairly new information, and the information at the bottom of the slide is kind of brand new. So PDF files can be opened and edited in Illustrator or Photoshop. A lot of people don't know that. Now, what does that mean for PowerPoint? It means that this chart right here, I can save it on a slide as a PDF, and then a graphic designer can open up that slide in Illustrator and be able to edit everything. And I mean everything. For instance, chart title, that text is actually editable text. As long as the font is something that Adobe recognizes, which mostly it will, the text will actually be editable. It won't be a picture. You can change the font. You can change the text. The colors, right? They'll be able to select the orange pieces and change them to a different color orange, or recolor the whole thing, or pull a piece out and separate the pieces so it's more descriptive. And The same thing with this chart over on the right. We have all these different pieces, all the little triangles, all the little pieces, all of those in Illustrator can be pulled apart and used. And you could even, duplicate the charts and have multiple different charts with each individual triangle or diamond, and you can do so many things with it. So all you have to do, say, hey, graphic designer, I'll save it as a PDF, open it up in Illustrator, and you should be able to do the things you want to do. Now, that's the way we used to do it. Coming up soon, right? PowerPoint 365 has an option that you can save either a slide, an image, a chart. You can just right click on it, save graphic as, and you can save it as SVG. Now, a lot of you probably don't know what SVG is. You never used SVG as a file type. Well, it's a file type that Illustrator can open up natively. It's a file type that Illustrator says, yes, that's exactly what I want. And everything is editable, everything is adjustable, and everything is very flexible. And so some of you guys may already have PowerPoint 365. And in that case, you'll just select your chart, you'll right click on it, and you'll save as picture. Okay. You might think, oh, save as picture. Well, an SVG format isn't, it's sort of a picture, but it's not quite a picture. It's kind of a picture. If you click save as picture and you're in 365, or I think Microsoft, is it 2018 or 2019 also has this feature, you can save as type and then it'll be on this list. SVG will be one of the options. The other place you'll see SVG as an option is if you want to save the whole thing. So if I go to File, Save As, File, Save As, and then let's say I browse here. I may have to exit out of here because it'll take too long. But essentially, if you do File, Save As, and you go to the Save As type list, it'll have several different options, and SVG will be one of those options there. So you can save a particular slide, the whole slide, as SVG. Here we go. So save as type, and then there's already a really long list to choose from, right? But SVG will be on that list. It'll be one of the options. So check it out. Try it out on your own version. If you don't see SVG, do PDF, and your graphic designer will still be able to do something with it. Okay, so either SVG or PDF, one of those two, and it should be very adjustable for your graphic designer or yourself, if you have that experience, to work with it and do more stuff with it. So that's my tip for printing it however big you want it, because that's the thing about Illustrator. You can take a small graphic chart like this that's tiny in PowerPoint and put it on a giant poster in Illustrator and print it out as a giant poster, and it'll be clear, crisp quality, which is great for people doing research posters. It's great for people doing, just regular posters and wall art and things with their research. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool feature. And a lot of people don't know that you can do that, and they try to do it in Illustrator, like from scratch. And there are some chart options in Illustrator, but they're just not as good as Excel and PowerPoint. Oh, and that's the other thing. This is also true in Excel. So if you played around with charts more in Excel than you have in PowerPoint, it works for that too. Just FYI. All right, let's go back to a little bit of basics. Okay. And let's go a little bit further with it. So basics. we have 3 points here: eat, sleep, live. And then over on the right, I've turned them into something more interesting, a graphic. Now, hopefully you guys know about SmartArt, but some of you guys said you were beginners, so you might not know that part. So I'm going to start from there. So eat, sleep, live, right? I just need to select that. And then on the Home tab, up at the top on the Home tab, there is a little button in the middle that says Convert to SmartArt. Okay. So you're going to instantly convert your 3 boring bullets into something far more interesting. And as you hover over the graphic, you can see you've got a variety of different options to choose from. Now, this is a process, right? You do one, you do the next one, you do the next one. And in this case, it's a cyclical process rather than a just run through it and you're done. So I'm going to choose a cyclical process, this one, and it looks like this. And I'll resize the whole thing just by clicking on the corner and dragging it in. Oh, something I should mention that some people know about, but some people don't. If you want to resize something so that it keeps its proportions, so it stays a square or so it stays a circle, you hold down the Shift key when you resize it. And when you hold down the Shift key, it keeps those proportions, which is nice. Okay. So let's say you know about SmartArt and you got this far, and maybe even you went to the top and you changed the design a little bit. Maybe you like this design, or maybe you like this design. I like it that you can hover over them and kind of choose, you know, what you might want. There are a lot of them to choose from, but I do recommend that you're very careful about choosing them. Some of them are a little bit harder to read, like that one. If that didn't have, or sorry, if that had more than one word on each circle, might become a little bit more difficult to read. So do be careful with that. I will say that right now, this sort of small gradient is very popular. So that's kind of a nice one to go with. I'll do that one. And of course, you can change the colors to whatever you want. But the colors here are a little bit limited, right? I can only choose from what they have. So I'll show you how to change those in a second. And then also, now that I've decided on a process, now that I've chosen one that is a process and it's a cyclical process, you'll notice up here that I've got new layouts that I couldn't see before. I've got new ones that I couldn't see before that are part of that cyclical process. So that's kind of cool. So maybe I didn't see it before. Maybe I want to choose this one. So just be aware that those options are there as well. I'll start with this one. Someone says, I don't see the Smart App tab. You just have to select your bullets, whatever they are, select your text, and then it will be on the Home tab. On the Home tab, you will see Convert to SmartArt, and as soon as you click that, then you will see the SmartArt tools. So you only see the SmartArt tools when you actually have SmartArt selected. So it's a tricky thing there. All right, so I've changed a little bit. Let's say that I'm done with my text. I'm done changing my text. I'm just making it more interesting at this point. I'm just making it more interesting. And this is important because if I'm done with my design and I'm done with my text and I have it all set up and I work on it really hard so that I get it to look like the one on the right, and I choose a different style, I lose a lot of that quality. Notice I kept a few things. I kept the colors and it kept the glow around the edge. Some of them might not even do that. So just be aware that you want to get your text right. You want to get your text correct, and you want to make sure you have a general idea that you're complete before you do this next step. All right. So I'm ready to do the final step on this particular item. So once you've clicked on the Smart Art, so it's selected, you can click again on an individual item and change that item. So I'll start with eat. I want to make eat a little bit smaller, just like I have in my example on the right, because eat shouldn't be as big as sleep. If we eat as much as we sleep, we will be round, right? So I'm going to make eat a little bit smaller. And sleep, I'll actually make sleep a little bit smaller, but not much because that's about the right size already. And then live, I want to leave that the same size. I want to make it nice and big, but maybe I want it a little bit further out. So you can just click and drag it around just a little bit. Notice that the arrows adjust to wherever you move it. Now you got to be careful with this. If you move it too far, it'll mess up the arrows. It'll mess up the design. But here's a big tip. Control Z. If you don't know that one, that is one to memorize, or Command Z on a Mac. So Control Z or Command Z on a Mac is undo. And by default, PowerPoint is set up so that you can undo 20 times. So you can step one step back 20 times if you need to. All right, so let me resize my box a little bit. I just clicked on the border of the box, one of these little circles, and just drug that down. That gives me a little bit more space in the box to move these circles around. So I'll grab this and put it up here, and I'll put this up here, and then I'll bring this down here. And now I have a little bit more room to make it bigger too. So I'm just going to resize this a little bit. Notice I'm using the Shift key. And the Shift key is going to allow me to make sure it's still a circle. Okay, so eat, sleep, and live. We're creating that balance between the three. Now I want to change the colors and the designs of each one a little bit to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to select eat first to make sure I have the box around it rather than the text selected. Okay, and then I can go up to the Format tab. Now, the Format tab has a lot of different options. It has some shape styles that I could go with to make it different, and that's fine. You can go with one of those. You can even click on the drop down, and there's a lot of built-in options that you could go with, and those are good too, right? There's a lot of good ones there. But I like to open up the Format pane on the right-hand side that gives me all the options at once. So right where it says Shape Styles, underneath those options, right, it says Shape Styles, the text. And then over to the right of that, there's a tiny little button. It says Format Shape. And if you click on that, in PowerPoint, whenever you see that little icon in the bottom of a group of buttons, it almost always opens this pane over here on the right-hand side. And this pane over on the right-hand side almost always gives you more stuff that you can do, more control over the stuff that you can do as well. So I'm going to come over here to where it says Preset Gradient, and maybe I'll go with a dark green, or maybe I'll go maybe something a little bit lighter like that. And I don't have time to go over everything in this Format Shapes panel. What I recommend is just try stuff out. If you've never seen this panel before, if you've never worked with it extensively, you can do amazing things within this panel that you wouldn't even think you could do in PowerPoint. So definitely, whenever you select something, whether it's a picture or a circle or an object or whatever, definitely check for this panel and see if you can do something extra with it to make it a little bit more interesting. So I've got eat. Let me do sleep. For this one, maybe I want to choose a preset, but then I want to change the color. So under color, I'll do a blue for this one. Oh, no. Oh, I chose a gradient. Let me go. Let me choose a blue preset for the gradient so I have a starting point. And then I can choose a dark blue to make it a little bit different. Maybe choose a light blue. So what I'm doing is I'm actually selecting some of these gradient stops, and I'm actually changing the color of the gradient stop rather than the whole color of the whole thing. So you just click on a gradient stop and then choose color, and then you can change the color of that and have fun with it. If I select the big live circle, for my example, I set a glow around the outside edge to kind of give it a sun look, the look of the sun shining down, or I guess kind of up in this case. But for that, we need something a little bit different. We need an effect. And for that, we go to the second part. So up here in the format shape panel on the far right-hand side, the pane, the first and where we've been working so far is the bucket, fill in line. We've actually got 3 icons here up at the top. We've got we've got the fill, which is the bucket, fill in line. And then the second one is all the effects that you can add. So in this case, I'm going to go to glow, and then I'll increase the glow. Maybe not quite that big, just want a little glow. And then it doesn't have to be yellow, but it makes sense that it would be the same color, or a similar color at least. Maybe make that a little bigger. One more. Okay. So it's a little bit different than this one, but it's close. You get the idea. And so here are all the effects. You can expand them, you can play with them. And rather than just picking one of the presets, which is nice and fast, you still can, this gives you more control over the options. The third icon is size, position, text box if you wanted more control over the text box, and alt text if you were if you're going to put this online. Alt text is for someone who can't see. Alt text is it's read to them over the screen reader. So that's what that's all about. Most of the time you won't mess too much with this one, but the first 2 you're going to spend quite a bit of time playing around with, and it's going to be lots of fun. So now you know not only about SmartArt, but also how to modify it. And this is true of all the SmartArt. All the SmartArt, you can select different pieces, and depending on what the pieces are, you'll be able to edit it a lot, or you may be able to just edit it a little bit, but all of them have editing options, and you can do things with them and have fun with them. So I highly recommend that. We have a question. Will you send the slides recording? I believe HR is recording this for Staff Week, and so they will send it out at the end, and everyone who signed up will have the recording. Is that right, Susan? And then if you would like the slides, you are welcome to drop me an email and I can send them to you if you want.
Yeah, my goal is to have the recordings on our YouTube channel, and there will be a link on the MUHRS website training to that YouTube channel. But my goal is to have those there by the middle of June.
Cool. All right, does anybody have any questions about SmartArt before I go on to the next section? All right. Keep in mind that charts and things like that are essentially just smart art. So anything you can do with smart art, you can do with a chart. So just FYI. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is masters. And that kind of goes along with this text up at the top. What about the stuff I can't select? So a lot of times you'll be given a template that you have to work within. And in some cases, it can be problematic. You might have an issue with something and you might not be sure how to change it. So all that stuff on the slide that you can't select is on the slide master. A slide master works sort of like a template that your whole project is built around. Now, for example, down here in the bottom right-hand corner of my slide, you see where it says MU extension and it's got the little logo. Well, I can't actually select it. If I click on it, it's selecting the text box. Let me get that out of the way. I can't actually select that logo at all. I can't move it. I can't change it. I can't do anything with it. I can't select the little line, the little yellow line there. I can select this number. I can select the slide number if I want to, but I can't select this other part. Well, what if I needed to update that logo? Maybe we updated the logo. Maybe the university changed the font, whatever. I need to update it. Well, how do I do that? Well, for that, you go, just like this picture shows, to the slide master. So you go to view and then slide master. And this is where you change it. So if you look down here in the bottom right-hand corner, there's that logo. Now I can click on it and now I can change it. So I can select it, I can right click on it, and I can select change picture and swap it out with the new logo if I had one. Also, notice that over on the left-hand side, all of my regular content slides are gone. When you go into the slide masters, your regular content slides they're kind of in a separate place. So instead, you see all of the different layouts. Let me expand this out so you can see it a little bit better. So here at the top, you see the bigger slide. That's your slide master. That's your theme master. It controls everything, all the different new slides that you can make. If I select it, notice that it's pretty much empty. It's got some placeholders, but there's no actual content on it. And if you are creating a template for someone else, or if you're trying this out, I do recommend using this method. Make your main slide master have almost nothing on it, and then have all your variations and your different designs in the layouts or child masters. They look kind of like their children because they're based on the big one, but they're a little bit smaller over on the left. So that's why I like to call them children. But they're in the program, they're called layouts. So if I click on a layout, you can see that anything extra that wasn't on this main master has been added to this layout. So picture placeholder, the logo, right? This text. Notice some things have a dotted outline around the outside edge of the box. So for instance, click to edit master title slide or title style. Notice that when I deselect it, has a dotted line instead of a solid line. I'm hoping you guys can see this in the presentation on Zoom. I don't know. If not, try your own masters. You'll be able to see it. Anything with a dotted line around the outside edge is something that in the regular presentation, you'll be able to change. You'll be able to update. Things that do not have that are probably not going to be able to update. So for instance, this logo, that's not going to change. This yellow box, right? This yellow border box, that's not. If I go to a different slide, right? This extension image here, the logo here, isn't going to change, right? You've got a lot of different slides here with a lot of different layouts, right? Here we have a logo up here in the top right corner. That's not going to be editable. But if I look down here at the bottom, notice where that number was in my presentation. That's editable, but the logo right next to it, it's not. So that's how you can go in and change that stuff that you couldn't normally change. So let's look at creating one of these. So here I have this empty one. This is a blank layout. Let me go ahead and insert a new layout here rather than messing up my blank one. Okay. So I just went up to the top and clicked insert layout. So currently it's based on the main master, right? That very top one that was a little bit bigger. And so it doesn't have anything on it. It's very basic. So I'm going to go up to the insert tab, just like I would for a regular presentation. And I'll choose pictures. And I'll choose black and white picture here. Whoa, that's really big. Okay, and I'll put that there. And so I've added an image. And now also at the top, under Slide Master, you'll see Insert Placeholder. Those are going to be the types of things that you can change on a regular slide. So I'll do Insert Placeholder, and I'll choose Text. And I'll draw a big box. Okay, now I just added a text box that when I use this slide, will automatically be able to put text in it. And I'll go back to Slide Master and I'll do Insert Placeholder and I'll do another picture. And I'll put it here, like that. Now notice it's different than the one I dropped in, the one I inserted on the Insert tab. It's just an empty box. And that means they're going to be able to put whatever picture they want in there. All right. Now I will go to Close Master View. And I will go to Insert. Actually, no, I'll do this from the Home tab. So Home tab, and then click the bottom part of the new slide. And notice my custom layout has appeared down here at the bottom. So I'll click on that. And it automatically inserts a slide that has the formula and the setup that I created. And I can click on any of these boxes and I can add to the title, and I can click on the icon to add a picture to this box. And notice the picture I added of me on the side is not adjustable. Just like the logo was in the other slides, I can't click on my face and move it around. So that's how you create your own templates with your own content. You go to View, Slide Master, insert a new layout, and then add whatever you want to the new layout using placeholders, inserting placeholders. Someone has asked, so if you're going to make custom slides, you would have to add the logo to each slide in the master view then? Well, yes, with this layout. With this setup, when you created the new layout, you would have to add the logo to this the layout. And then anytime you use that layout in the regular presentation, it'll always have that logo there already. Now, it is possible if I wanted to, I could add the logo to this main master. So currently, remember I said this main master has nothing on it. This is the top master, the bigger one. But if I go to Insert and choose a picture, and I choose that same picture because I know it's not copyrighted, so we can put it on YouTube. Okay. Whoa. All right. So I will make it really small and I will put it in the corner. So it's kind of unobtrusive. Now notice when I put that there, I don't know if you guys will be able to see this. Maybe I should make it bigger so you can see it a little better. Okay, so I added that to the top right, or sorry, top left corner of the master slide. And notice now all of the layouts have it in the top left corner, regardless of what the other content is. And in some cases, it's behind the regular content, but it's always there. So that's how you would put it on every single layout if you want it to be there. But again, I recommend keeping that main master layout as simple as possible because there might be a slide where you don't want that logo there. And it's easier if you just don't put it on the master and you put it on the layouts. Good question. I'll close that master view and I'll go ahead and get rid of that extra slide that I added in there. Okay, we are at 2:51 and I want to leave some minutes for questions. So what other questions do you guys have? Any troubleshooting, things that you guys need help with before we close out? Go ahead and throw those in the chat. If you don't see the chat in the control bar at the bottom of Zoom, click on more and it'll be on the more list.
I have a question, Mel.
Mm-hmm.
I have a recorded like loop in one of my PowerPoint sessions that usually runs just fine. But when I run it in Teams, like when I pull it up in Teams meeting to run it, it won't run. Do you have any ideas of why that is?
I'm going to bet it's the Teams display, how it displays in Teams.
Okay.
Because Microsoft has their own sort of mini way of displaying PowerPoints when it's in Teams. So I'm going to bet it's because of Teams, unfortunately.
Okay.
If you run it on your desktop app during the demonstration, that I don't know if that'll help or not.
Actually, it's not that hard. It's only 6 slides that another person has recorded the narration of. And I can just click the slides. I just have to pay a tiny bit more attention when it's playing.
Gotcha. Someone asks, how do I keep bullet points? I'm not sure what you mean. If you could maybe
when you had the 3 things.
Uh-huh.
I went into mine and I first did a bullet, and then when I hit enter, I thought that bullet would go to the next one, and it doesn't.
So you need to possibly add more, like you want to add more circles?
No, where you had it, the bullet points. So you had a bullet before eat, you had a bullet before sleep, and you had a bullet before live. How do you get those bullets to stay?
They shouldn't go away, but let me grab a text box here.
Oh, so I didn't do the text box. Okay.
Yeah, if you do, if you do a text box, you should be able to just type them back in as text if you need to.
But you can't go from like the main slide and do those. So say when I first open up PowerPoint and it gives you the design. do you have to click a different design and then, I mean, what's the best way to do?
Oh, let's say you have a slide here. If you want to change, if you have a slide and you already have text on it and you want to change the design of the slide, you can actually right click on it and select layout and switch the layout to one of your other ones.
Okay,
Does that work? So just
Yeah.
right click, layout, and then choose something different. Like that.
so when you choose, so if that, whatever I choose, and if I want to pull a book, do you always have to use a text box to do bullets?
Yeah.
Okay, I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Someone has asked, how do you get the PowerPoint to advance manually when recording in Zoom? PowerPoint would not advance when the Zoom was recording. I'm guessing they mean automatically
No.
advance.
No, we were doing an award ceremony and I wasn't there, but she said when she would try to advance it manually, like she would, announce the award and then manually do it and then, hit the arrow button to manually select the next slide with the winner on it. When it was recording, she wasn't able to advance it. She would have to stop the record. So she basically just stopped the recording altogether and then it worked fine.
That shouldn't happen.
Okay. And it could be, would it make a difference if I set up the presentation and then she got into it, like I shared it with her? That shouldn't make a difference, should it?
Now, the only reason I can think of that you would have something like that is if she had something, if she had clicked on something in Zoom. And so rather than the arrow key moving to the next slide, it was focused on Zoom. And so it was moving to maybe the next Zoom button.
Okay.
Or
okay,
something
I'll
like
have to ask
that.
you about that. We're having another one in June, and so I'll be there for that one, so I can try it. So as long as you keep the arrow on the PowerPoint presentation to manually move it, advance it forward, it should still work fine when you're recording.
Yeah, I've been using Zoom and PowerPoint for years and years and years, and I've never had that issue.
Okay. I have another question, if you don't mind.
Thanks,
So
Carla.
like, I'm trying to put pictures, insert pictures, and I've got them in there, but the quality of the picture is very pixelated. Can that be fixed in PowerPoint, or does it have to be edited outside of PowerPoint before it can be fixed? Does that make
Okay,
sense?
that is a variable question. So the thing I showed at the very beginning of the presentation, where you go into your options and you change your image size and quality, and you make sure that do not compress images in the file is checked, and you make sure the default target is set to 330, that may help.
Okay, I haven't done that, so I'll go back and do that.
That's the first step. Now, if that doesn't help, if the images are still coming in and they're grainy or they're pixelated or something like that, then that means the original image was not high enough quality for what you want to do with it.
Okay.
And in that case, you would have to take it through a different program and try to do what you can to increase the size, probably Photoshop.
Okay. Okay. That answers my questions. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have another one.
Okay, go ahead. I think that's all of the questions we had in the chat. So go ahead.
On your design tab, so when you pick, like when I start, like I pick up, it says design will only work when you have the picture and caption layout. And because it's like I put in, like the student's name and then their picture, and then I'm like, okay, give me some designs to choose from.
and it says it will only work when it's in the picture and caption layout. And then it gives me the designs. How does it just choose random designs off of what I already have on that slide?
I have never had that issue.
Okay,
So
so
I am not sure. So here I have a slide
right.
and
Now
it's
go up
not a
to-
picture caption option, and I
Okay.
can
And you can,
I
okay,
can choose
so that
whichever.
you have design, there should be one. Is your ribbon all the way down? Okay, no, that's not what I'm looking at. Let me pull it up on mine and then I can tell you. So when I go to design, then there's one that says design ideas under designer. It has all of those, and then it has, I don't know if you can let me share my screen or not.
Browse for themes. Which version are you using?
I have not a clue.
Mel, I don't think she's talking about the designs up at the top. Sometimes over to the right, one of those boxes pops up and it gives you a layout for your slide where it pops in circles and decorative things that
Right.
you might want to do. It's not one of these design things up at the top.
But it's under the design tab. So yeah.
Oh, do you need something selected? Maybe?
And then, so I have design, and then it has the themes, and then it has your variants, your slide size, then it says format background, and then I have one that says design ideas, and it's under like the designer.
Do you have a picture selected and you're on I'm trying to think, what do you have selected when you get that?
I just have a blank slide and I put in like a name and a picture. And then I say, give me design ideas. And sometimes it will, and sometimes it won't.
I think it's got to have something to do with what you have selected,
Okay.
because I'm not sure what else that would be. And I think it might also be the version you're working with,
Okay.
but
Okay.
I'm not positive.
That's fine.
I don't know if you want to.
I didn't see it on yours, so that's why I was like,
Yeah. If you want to take a screen capture
okay, and email it to you.
and email it to me, I can take a look and see if I can figure out what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. And sorry, Sangeeta, this is not the first slide you missed, but this will be recorded and you can catch it after with the recording.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mel. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to the next one here in a half an hour.
Yeah, got to go get a drink and be ready for the next one.
Right. Okay. See you then. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.